Hey guys, Jim here with another little knife overview. And this time on a knife that I've been waiting quite a long time to get my hands on. Not as long as many of you. A lot of you are on the list from Direware to receive your solo. And you're on a 12-month, 14-month waiting list. I've kind of been going after it on the secondary market, and nobody likes the secondary market prices on these things. It's insane. We'll discuss that in a little bit. But I just kind of want to share my excitement for this because I was lucky enough to get the exact combination of materials and finishes that I wanted to. And came out of the blue. I talked about it in one of my recent videos. Somebody, I don't know if they really want their name out there or not, so I'll just say somebody left a comment saying, hey, I've got one, kind of need to come up with some extra cash, looking to sell it, and I emailed him and we worked out a deal. Paid for it, he overnighted it, I got it today along with my Will Moon, which please check out the video on that. That Will Moon Mark 6 is a mind-numbing awesome knife. But I got this today and I just truly love it. And when I first decided I wanted to have one of these, I looked at the videos and I saw the pictures and went, this is the knife that if there were some kind of apocalyptic event, this is the knife I think I would want to have in my pocket because I think it would do everything. It would just, I could use it as a friggin' machete. I mean, it just looks like it could handle anything. And now I have to say that my overbuilt Trifecta is now finally complete because now I've got that to go along with my Medford Praetorian and my Crusader Forge VIS-T. So I've got my crazy, ridiculous, overbuilt knife fetish pretty much taken care of. Except I still have another Praetorian tie on the way to me and whenever Greg Medford finishes it in 3 or 4 months. So this was kind of like a natural matchup for me. I've never brought out a gun in any of my videos. This is my beloved. This is my everyday carry. This is my P7 M8. It is unloaded, just so that you guys see I'm not playing with a friggin' loaded pistol. But yeah, this is still my favorite. I got Glocks and all the other good stuff too, and they're fantastic. But that's the one right there. And I kind of put this knife in that league. This thing is crazy. From the first time I had seen the carbon fiber and the acid stonewash, the dark tumble stonewash with the anodized titanium side, I knew that's what I wanted. And I was fine with most of the finishes on the tie side. And actually, when I bought this from the pictures he sent me, I was expecting a different tie side. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I saw that I had the anodized titanium side. Now, the thing is, when he contacted me, he told me that he was offering me a solo V4. And that's kind of what I was expecting. This isn't a V4, and I think he just may have been under the wrong impression. The V4 was just upgraded, or updated, I should say, to Bowler M390 steel. This is not Bowler M390 steel. But here's the odd thing. On all the V2s that I've seen pictures of, they have a different setup for the screws. They have like a set of 3 screws here, then 2 or 3 back here. I'm assuming it's because of the elimination now on the newer versions of the V2. They no longer have the blade stop pin built into them. It's actually going to be built inside at the pivot. I'm sorry, no, it's not. My apologies. It's not like a hoback or anything. They're just using the thumb studs for the blade stop. My apologies. So that was the change that they had made halfway through production on the V2s. So that eliminates one of the screws that I would have expected to have seen on a V2. And maybe all the V2s are like this now. I don't know. I haven't done that much research on them. But it's definitely not a V4. The V4 has a thicker clip, has the different steel. So anyway, so what you're looking at here, it's a short, squatty, fat little overbuilt, insane knife. It's got under a 3.5 inch blade. It's about 3.4, 3.45 inches in total. And you've got about an extra ½ inch or so in the frame, so it's a little shorter in the blade than the frame. But what they've done is they've actually brought this out to a point, I'm assuming, to kind of make it into a glass breaker. I wouldn't want to have to rely on breaking a car window with carbon fiber and titanium. But I'm sure you're going to get a good smack in there once before you flatten it out and probably bust up the carbon fiber. This is a really, really cool knife. Let's get some side-by-side comparisons done very quickly. So put the Direware in the center. When you're used to carrying most typical knives in this size, it's going to be something like the awesomeness. You see how much slimmer it is in the body and in the blade than this. This is part of that overbuilt thing that we're talking about. Even something else that's considered fairly large, and this is a 4-inch blade, would be like the Todd Bag Bodega. You guys know I use this a lot for my comparisons because I love my Bodega. Putting it up against other overbuilt knives, you see, this is that whole overbuilt thing. One scale on this is almost the thickness of my awesomeness. And for those that haven't seen the video, so I just have to avoid having to answer all the comments, go check my channel. There's an entire video dedicated just to this knife. This was my Chris Reeve awesomeness pimped by Chris Martin. So go check out the video. Any question you may have shall be answered. So then we do a side-by-side comparison. Now, it's harder with this. Yes, it's a titanium Praetorian. No, it's not built like the other ties. This was that one-off custom that Greg made. He's not making this again. And it's got the slimness of a Praetorian A or Praetorian G. So it's not really fair to compare these two because a standard Praetorian tie will be just about as thick as the Direware is. So instead, I'm going to compare it to another new beloved that I have, my Crusader Forge VIS-T. And there's your side-by-side. And really, except for the fact that the Direware is radiused, that it swells out in the center both on the titanium side and the carbon fiber side, they're pretty much almost dead on the same. The Direware is a lot lighter in weight. That is just insane. When you put this thing in your hand, you know you're holding an insane, crazy, overbuilt knife. So we'll get the Crusader Forge out of there. Yeah, that's still one of my babies. I love that thing. All the standoffs are done in titanium. They're not steel, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 standoffs. Now you do have a blade stop here for when the blade closes, not for when it shoots open. That's what your thumb studs are being used for. I've never seen the pivot done like this on any of the other Direwares previous. I'm not sure what the whole deal is. This could be an in-between. It could be the very end of the run on the V2s before he started doing the V4s. I don't even know that any V4s have made it into people's hands yet. So you'll have to forgive my ignorance on that. I was going off of what I was told from the seller, and it just doesn't seem to be the same because here is the marking for the blade steel, S35VN. So that's definitely going to be a V2 based on the blade steel. How cool is this? Look at that grind. Look how insane, look at this. Now, one of the things, two of the things I should say, that can be somewhat bothersome when you're buying into this new overbuilt fad is they tend to lack smoothness in their operation. And they tend not to be really all that sharp because they're usually monster blade stock with a very, very, very thick, even as the grind goes down, tends to be very thick. This has one of those two problems. This is not very smooth. It is breaking in, though. I will give it that. I can now just, I'm working in limited space here, but I can usually flip that right open. But it is insanely razor sharp. This is a crazy sharp blade. You can see how much edge work was done there to sharpen that. But as you see, there's still a little bit of fight to it. Now I've got my Medford, which is wonderfully smooth, and it's breaking in even nicer. But even after nearly an hour of stropping, I can't get it to cut through a piece of paper. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not knocking the knife. I friggin' love this knife. And it will actually shave hairs off your arms, yet it won't slice paper. I can't quite figure that out. But it's an incredible knife all the way around. This has everything. It's overbuilt. The precision in which everything has been assembled and the precision in which everything has been machined and milled and fit is absolutely top-notch and indicative of a knife that would cost you considerably more money. And again, we're going to get to the cost a little bit later. But it's riding on bearings. Thrust bearings. It does have a captive bearing system. And it's actually kind of neat because if you look in there, you should be able to see it. The washer that holds the bearings is actually red. I've never seen that before. Supposedly the bearing system is supposed to be pretty much identical to what Kershaw used in the tilt. Don't know. Haven't had a chance to own a tilt. I will have one someday. I'm done buying for right now, so don't offer me one because I'll be forced to buy it and hang myself. So it's super smooth and lightning fast. For a knife this thick and chunky, you wouldn't expect that. Now they're using thinner blade stock than most of these overbuilt knives are. So I'm sure it's easier to do this. They have achieved a very, very sharp edge. This is not a knife where you go, well, this is the one I'm only going to use to hack into sticks. But a fine ribbon cutting, or I could slice garlic with this. It is wonderfully sharp. So this is really the best of those two in one. And that's why I'm so impressed with it. Part of me didn't want to like this knife. Part of me wanted to go get the knife, play with it for a couple of days or a week, and then flip it and make money on it. I'm not gonna. I wanted it for so long. I'm glad I have a chance to bond with it. I'm glad I really do love it because I am going to keep it. And when we get down to the cost, that's where it gets bad. They start around $550, $575. One like this, set up the way it is about $650. Now that's not bad when you consider the amount of work, and this is not a machine-produced product wholly. You're looking, Tullis does this by hand. It's a one-man operation. He's doing all of this himself. And that's why the extremely long lead times, and last I heard his books were closed anyway. Problem is the secondary market. This is even, I would say percentage of increase in price is up there with Hinderer, but the prices go higher at individual dollars. I paid $12.50 for this. Now, that sounds crazy. And believe me, I tried. I worked on him and tried to get him down just a little bit where I felt like I had won some sort of little battle, but he wasn't having that because he knows what he can get for it. The last two I saw, any model Direware, the last two that I saw sell over at Arizona Custom Knives, $1,800 and $2,200, I believe. The last few I saw sell on forums were between $1,800 and $2,000. The two that are sitting on eBay as of last night, I think one of the auctions ended, it was $18.99 and $21.99. I gotta tell you, man, that's a little bit of craziness. If the market will bear it, then of course it's going to continue to happen. If people would stop paying those prices, it would force people to reduce them. Yeah, I didn't want to spend $12.50. I'll be perfectly honest with you, but this was the only one, and I've been searching that I could get my hands on in the configuration that I really wanted. I love this acid dark stone wash because it's going to hide some minor wear because it is going to get used. I'm going to start cutting stuff with it tonight, and it helps to conceal that just a little bit. I would not have spent $1,800, $2,000. It was not going to happen. This is a beautiful knife. The carbon fiber is amazing. The overall construction, the meticulous care in which this was assembled is evident when you pick it up. And kudos to the former owner, because he took exceptional care of it. It doesn't look like it's even been clipped in the pocket, to be honest with you. It will be in about 10 minutes, because when I head out, this is the knife I'm going to carry. It's a brute. I'm not going to lie. If you watched the review I did on my Crusader Forge, I may love it, I may dig it, but I do know that it's going to be seriously impractical for most people. I mean, it's a big knife. It takes up a lot of room in your pocket. It's heavy. You know you're carrying it. Sometimes I'm in the mood for that. I'm fortunate. I have a lot of knives. When I'm in the mood for something super lightweight and slim and skinny and small, I have a plethora to choose from. When I want to carry something ridiculous and big and crazy, I have a plethora to choose from. So it depends on the mood that I'm in and the activities that I'm going to undertake that day. But I can tell you right now, I can't think of a thing that this knife would not do. I mean, if I was going on a camping trip, I mean, obviously I'd want to have a fixed blade for certain things, but if I was going on a camping trip, which it ain't going to happen because I hate camping, I hate bugs, I hate animals. No, I don't hate animals, you know what I mean? I don't want to be laying in a tent and hear a freaking wolf or a bear running through the campsite. No, that's what I mean by hate animals. Don't get me wrong. I have animals. I love them. I feel that this would do anything. I would have this in my pocket the entire trip. God, it is a beautiful work of tactical art. I almost can't stop staring at it. But again, it's the smoothness, the lightning fast operation, the bearing system, the fitment of all the parts, the finish work throughout the entire knife that really turns me on. So, this isn't really too much of a review, more of an overview to give you a nice, good look at it. And if you're as much of a knife nut as I am, you're probably going to love it as much as I do. That's an interesting, I didn't notice that before. You got that finish on the blade, and then he brushed this out. Now, as I often do, I'm going to find a couple of little nits to pick. The one thing that I would change on this, if I could, while it's nice to have that internal stop bar for the closing of the blade, the one thing I would change is this, because when your finger's up here, this is actually pretty rough. It's actually pretty sharp. Look at those sharp edges. Doesn't feel all that great. See if I can give you a good look at what it does to your finger. See what I mean? Not a big fan of that. If this were the flipper variation, I think I'd have a little bit less to worry about. But that's really about it. That's about it. But what I do like, and what people don't really think of, when you start looking at a knife over time and you're examining its lockup, which if you look at the lock face here, he did the lock geometry on this is fantastic. It was intelligently thought out. You have the flat bar going against the angle. It's only going to go so far. Here's the thing though. As you start examining your knives over the time that you own them with consistent use, you know, the lock bar starts to lock up a little later and a little later. Part of that is because of the wear here, but the other part is wherever the stop pin is. It's typically going to be a round pin, okay? So you've got that round edge, and it's usually the back side of the blade, which is flat, hitting it. Well, when it's new, that's flat, meeting up to that rounded edge. What's going to happen over time as this gets battered and battered, that starts getting flatter. And that may even start getting a little indentation in the back of the blade. What he's done is you obviously have a round bar right here, correct? Correct. Matched up to a round notch. Round meeting round. One is not going to flatten out from hitting the other. So I should expect the same degree of lockup a month from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now, because it's a rounded surface meeting the exact same radius on another rounded surface. Now, I hope I'm explaining that in a way that makes sense, because it makes sense in my little pea brain as I'm saying it, so I hope I'm conveying that message properly. But anyway, that's it. I'm going to cut this off at 20 minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you to the mystery YouTuber, because I don't have permission to use your name, for hitting me up and selling this to me. Yeah, I was a little grumpy about spending that much money on it, but it was worth it, and I appreciate you giving me the offer, because I know you could have charged a hell of a lot more. So I appreciate that. Beautiful knife, staying in the collection. Don't think it's going anywhere unless I come across some ridiculous, crazy grail. Anyway, leave me some comments, like the video, share it with your friends, spread the word. I'm trying to grow my channel, and maybe work out maybe some sort of giveaway or some kind of contest in the near future. Haven't decided. I'm going to see what I can do about that. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.